about Viking, true information, how they are and who they are.
Well, I think that Vikings tend to get a bit of a bad reputation.
Yes.
Because the people today think of the Vikings as being everybody from Scandinavia. And they weren't. They were only the raiders. They were only the warriors of the people. The rest of the people here were called the Norsemen.
Mm-hmm.
And the Norsemen were a very, very advanced culture. And yet they also still had the Vikings as part of their society. So it is true to say that the Vikings were a very warrior part of the society, but not everybody was as aggressive as the Vikings are shown today.
So the Viking is normal nation, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Part of them tough.
Yes. So it's just the warriors and raiders, not everybody.
Yeah, and which year or centuries they were?
If we're talking about the Vikings themselves, we can go to very specific dates, around 793 until 1066.
Mm.
If we're talking about the society, you can push that until 1100 and maybe go back as far as 600, but no really further on either end.
And the Viking, they are not Norwegian, just Scandinavian.
Scandinavian,
so,
more than just Norwegian.
So it can be from Sweden,
Sweden, Denmark, Norway. Those are the three countries that are most associated with the Vikings. But also they were the people who founded Iceland and Greenland. So you can also say that when those countries were founded, they were Vikings and people came from there as well.
Is it true they were invading, yeah?
Yes,
countries?
Very often they would invade, but not necessarily because they were trying to take everything, as they are often portrayed, but sometimes they wanted to settle in these countries. Mm-hmm. So if you take the Vikings going to, for example, England, when they went there, they were trying to conquer England rather than just invade and run away again.
Mm-hmm.
So there was 4 separate kingdoms in England at that time, and 3 out of 4 of them fell to the Vikings. So England, over half of England was ruled by Vikings for a long period of time.
This is good news, or?
I would say it was, obviously not good news for the people at the time who were already living there, but in a way it was good for them because the Vikings brought with them a great amount of trade and a great amount of things that hadn't been in Britain before then. So for example, the societies at the time in England were much more tribal based, and the Vikings kind of brought in a more advanced form of society, what we call the ting system. And in their part of England, which we called Danelaw, they had a very advanced way of looking after all the people. But
what's a Danelaw?
Danelaw was the area of England under Viking authority. So it started up in what today would be Jorvik, or York even, so Jorvik in Viking times. And it came down most of the east of England, leaving only what was at the time Wessex, which was the most powerful of the 4 kingdoms of England before the Vikings came.
Mm-hmm.
Only Wessex managed to survive the Viking conquering.
Okay, why when they say Viking, everybody imagine them with horns?
Okay, well this kind of comes about from primarily several different ways, but you have, before the Vikings, the people here in Scandinavia used horns on masks and helmets for religious ceremonies. Mm-hmm. So you've got a little bit of that element coming into it. You've also got the fact that Vikings did use horns, just not on their helmets. So they used them for drinking out of and for musical instruments and so on and so forth. And so if you were an early archaeologist who found a piece of horn near to a helmet or a piece of a helmet, you might put the two and two together and get something completely incorrect. But it's also because you do see artistry of Vikings with horns on their heads or on their helmets. This might be, most of this artistry is done by other nations, in particular Christian nations, who might be using it to portray the Vikings as a more kind of barbaric devil type of race.
Thank you very much for your information. May I know your name?
My name's Greg.
Greg from England.
Indeed.
Thank you very much. I think you are happy in Norway.
Absolutely.
It's for plain dyeing. To
Okay.
dye the clothes, to make colors.
Okay.
Here, the wool, for example. So we dye wool. Yeah. So here we have birch leaves.
What is that?
Birch leaves.
Okay.
So from the trees, that will make a nice yellow color. Here we have
What you call it by Norwegian language?
levitan.
Levitan.
Yeah, in Norwegian. So it's thinly. So all this we use to color the wool. So here you can see that.
You use all of this to color? Yeah.
So you see here, it's boiling. Here.
Okay.
The birch leaves. Up. And then you see the wool then get a green color.
Yeah, okay. So you're coloring the wool?
Yes, and then we put it there to dry, but you see, that's how it was originally when we boiled it a little bit without any plants, and now we have this nice green color. So yeah, we can leave it a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
longer.
The Viking were using the same dress?
Well, yes, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
It is, you have to have many layers when it's cold.
All right, okay.
Right now it's kind of warm, so I'm trying to get down to this thin linen.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have one out of wool that I put on the top, but it's warm now.
So you don't need it?
I don't need it right
Yeah.
now.
And the houses, their houses was really like that. Everything is the same.
Yeah, the most authentic house that we have is the smithy. It's down in the end.
Smithy.
Yeah, where the blacksmith
Yeah.
is working.
Yeah.
That is the most authentic house. But yeah, basically they would look like this.
You use it, for example, to chop a wood, split timber for plank for the house, and also Viking ship and shield and stuff like this. Then you have another type of axe, the bearded axe with a hook like this. And then you use the, for example, to take down the enemy shield. So if you have a shield, then you hook it like this and you pull it up. Yeah. Then you have the scrummy axe, so that you have the front belt or the back belt. And you use to chop up vegetable, clean the fish, open the reindeer or there, take out what you don't need. But in the battlefield, you have it in the back belt, and if you're about to be killed, you pull it out, surprise the enemy, and save your life. So many famous weapons is mentioned in the sagas. This is called iron tongue because it looks like you have a tongue of iron. And then you can also decorate with horse hair and stuff like this. Then you have the long axe. It's the only two-hands weapons I find from Viking age. You get enormous force behind. That was used by the hill. They protected the chieftain, or the earls, or the kings, or the small kings. And if you have a shield wall, you can reach over the shield wall over to the enemy. You can also use this tip as a spear, and also take the ankle of the enemy like this. But if you have bad mood one day, you take this way. No protection there. Then you have the sword. A blacksmith, or look like medical, can make a flexible sword like this. And he has to be flexible. If not, he only break when he hits something hard. Instead, he just vibrate. Yeah. And this was made of much more pressure metal, like spring steel. Yeah. So it takes very much more time to make, up to 1 year, yeah, at least. And yeah, from here to there, it's node of the blade. It's absolutely the sharpest place on the blade. And the reason is the piece of move leases. And now I'm gonna hit on it, and you can try to see. There you want to hit your enemy because then it's straightest and deepest if you don't stab. And then you have this groove here, so you get vacuum in, so you get it easily out. Yeah. And also take down the weight on the sword. And the value of the sword in Viking Age was 6 horses or 6 legs. And in Norway alone is found 3,500 swords from Viking Age. And the sword was very personally, so you often bury with your sword. Yeah. Then you have the shield. If you was right-handed, you have the shield on the left side to protect on the left side. Then you had hand weapon on the right side to protect on the right side. And both you defend with and both you attack with. And the shield must not look like this, was made of plank and also reinforced with animal skin or linen. Linen like this. And also had iron bone around or animal skin around. Then you have the shield boss in the middle to protect your hand behind no matter what if this breaks. And how you attack with a shield. For example, if you have a shield roughly straight against you, you hit on the side and open up. And if spear coming against you, hit on the side of the spear and push it. Yeah. And you also can use this to punch with, for example, in the throat. And if someone come behind you, you just turn and hit them in the face. Yeah. So it's also attacking weapon, not only defensive weapon. Yeah. And if there's a rain coming against you, you're trying to hide behind the shield. Yeah, so good to have in a battle. Yeah. Then we have the Viking helmet. This is a copy of a real finding from east of Norway, called Gjermundbu helmet because it was found on Gjermundbu farm. And the original also had spike on the top. And we haven't found much Viking helmets, so we still have to find more. But in the sagas, it's done a lot about Viking helmet. For example, Håkon the Good, he had gold-plated helmet, so he shines so much in the battlefield, in the sun. So the enemy spot him easily and throw weapon at him and shoot arrows. And that's why his head put on his hood and became much better. Yeah, so not so smart to go in the battlefield with gold-plated helmet. Then you have the chainmail. It was made of many rings, and every second ring was a rivet. Yeah, it took very long time to make. So the value of this is almost to buy a house today. And this weighs 16 kilos, but it can weigh up to 25 kilos. So if you go with a whole day, it's a good training. Yeah. And in the end of the day, if you take it off, you feel almost that you can fly. It's a good feeling. Yeah. Then if enemy ship coming in the fjord, you had the horn to blow in to alert the village. Then it was the cut of hair, now it's just a drinking horn. The Vikings had over 70 gods, and each god was kind of own nature power. So you sacrifice on the sacrifice stone, and your higher sacrifice, you're more likely that you get what you ask for. And the place name here, Gudvangen, means the place of the gods. So it was most likely a sacrifice place in Viking Age. And then we have the god Njord in the middle, because he have the same name as the fjord behind, Nærefjord, up the Njord. And he was the god of the sea, also god of trade and fortune. Yeah, so that's why we think here also was a marketplace in Viking Age. So naturally with the fjord, that the fjord and the sea is the main road in Viking time. Yeah. Then we have more famous god, the god Thor with the hammer, so he make lightning and thunder with his hammer. And he's the strongest god, so for strength and luck in battle, you sacrifice the Thor. Then we have Odin, Allfather, he's the chieftain of the gods. And he have a huge hall called Valhalla. So people prefer to come to Odin's hall after he was dead. But only way you come there if you die bravely on the battlefield. Then he had ravens that fly around the world for spy for him. Then we have Frøya, she's the goddess of love, but also goddess of war. So when the Valkyrie fly over the battlefield to take off the bravest warriors, allowed us to come up to the gods, then Frøya shows first half of them, she wants the honorable, but Odin, he wants the bloodthirsty.
بعد التحقق العميق من عدة مصادر وبلغات مختلفة عن قوم الڤايكنج، تبين كالآتي وباختصار شديد أن قوم الڤايكنج ظهر في الدول الاسكندنافية بين القرن الثامن والحادي عشر، وكانوا قوم وثنيون يؤمنون بعدد كبير من الآلهة، وكانوا قوم شرسين في المعارك بلا رحمة، وشنوا غزوات كثيرة بهدف توسيع مملكتهم وأخذ كل شيء بشتى الطرق الغير شرعية، وكانوا يؤمنون بأن إذا ماتوا في المعركة ببسالة وشجاعة سيكونون من المقربين في الحياة الآخرة في فالهالا، وهي صالة كبيرة لا يدخلها إلا الشجعان وبضيافة الآلهة بودن. أول غزواتهم كانت على إنجلترا وفرنسا وآيسلند، وأسسوا مدينة نوفغورد في روسيا، وغزوا القسطنطينية والأندلس، وعلى مدينة لشبونة، وقاموا بتدمير المدينة وتخريب المساجد وهتك الأعراض والسرقة والنهب، حتى وصلوا إلى مدينة إشبيلية وفعلوا فيها كما فعلوا في سابقتها من المدن. وكان ذلك في العصر الأموي الذي كان يحكمهم عبدالرحمن الاوسط، الذي أرسل جيش المسلمين لمحاربتهم وطردهم من البلاد، حتى أدرك الڤايكنج أنهم أمام قوة عظيمة، ثم طلبوا من عبدالرحمن الاوسط الهدنة والصلح. ولكن ما زال اختفاء الڤايكنج عن الوجود لغز ليس له حل حتى الآن.